Good morning, good morning, good morning. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the latest edition of Chopping It Up with Ramel. Listen, it's been a long time since since I've done something like this, so bear with me. I might be a little rusty, but the point is, I want to get right to the NBA because this year, the NBA, in my mind, has been something that we haven't seen in a long time or possibly ever. We have parity in the league that is just unbelievable right about now. On any given night, you don't know who's going to win, whoever the matchup is, and despite who the two teams are, you might get a quality game, even if it's a Houston against Detroit. But I want to get right to it. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm from New York, Queens, Ravenswood houses, Ravenswood projects, I should say. So that's the reason why I'm representing Queens. Shout out to my cousin Frankie Duff for supplying me with this wonderful Queens hat. But let's get right to it, because those who do know me know that I am a Knicks fan, a diehard Knicks fan, and I gotta tell you, I got some concerns about the New York Knicks. They started the season out at 5-1, and since then they've been 2-4. They're 7-5 right now, currently in seventh place. I mean, it's not a bad start to the season, but I think the expectation for the Knicks was to be an improved team from last year. Last year, in a shortened season, we won 41 games, and I believe there's a lot of fans out there that were expecting New York to crack 50 wins this year. I'm here to tell you I don't see that happening. As much as I like the acquisition of Kimba and Evan Fournier, it looks like their offense was brought on board at the expense of some perimeter defense that we are lacking. I didn't realize how much we may have missed Reggie Bullock's defensive presence on the perimeter, but it's beginning to show. And what makes matters even worse is that the offense that Walker and Fournier is supposed to bring has been very, 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 very inconsistent, to say the least. I think Kimba and Evan Fournier is producing on an offensive end very similar to the numbers that Alfred Payton and Reggie Bullock was producing on an offensive end. And then when you take away any defense that Bullock brought and they're not bringing, it almost seems like the sacrifice is not warranted at this point. Me personally, if he wasn't going to bring back Reggie Bullock, I thought that R.J. Barrett will have a breakout season, and not necessarily thought that Fournier was needed. I do like his outside shot when it's consistent, but I would have went after Kelly Oubre Jr. I don't know about you guys. I'm a Kelly Oubre Jr. fan. Right now, he's coming off the bench for Charlotte, and he's doing a tremendous job over there. In fact, he's probably a top 5 candidate right now for Sixth Man of the Year early on this season. And I want to caution early on this season, because with 12 games in, we're already 12% of the league season in. 12%. 12.5% in. So with 3-4 games every 7-9 days, the season moves quickly. And there's an old adage, the more wins you get in the beginning, the less you need at the end. So don't get caught up with it's an early season, because you'll look up and you'll find yourself having to really, really, really go on a run late to get yourself into the playoffs or get into a groove. So don't get caught up with the earliness. But going back to the Knicks, I'm not liking what I'm seeing with the first unit. Too much ISO ball with Randall. This guy here continues to have to shoot the last shot of the quarter when the shot clock is winding down, and he's only made one in the 2 years that he's been here, 3 years, I should say, and that was in a preseason game early this season. He just doesn't do it for me at the end of the clock, and everybody knows he's going to him, And instead of the Knicks doing some cutting to maybe create an open man or whatever the case is, everybody's standing around watching him go one-on-one. And the results is pretty much the same every time, a missed opportunity. So I'm not liking what I'm seeing there. Kemba Walker, he's got to get his rhythm going. This team is going to go as far as Kemba and Evan Fournier takes us. I mean, between Mitch, Noel, and Taj Gibson, the center position is going to be fine. Unfortunately, we don't get enough points from that position, but it will be fine. Randall will have his numbers. RJ is improving. It really comes down to Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker. A good buddy of mine, childhood friend, he said to me, Brother Black, he said that the second unit is better than the first unit. I don't necessarily disagree with him, although I do disagree with him. It's very easy to say that the second unit is better than the first unit. That's because the second unit is playing for the second year in a row together. They know each other. They have chemistry. They have cohesiveness. And a lot of times, chemistry and cohesiveness can bond a group together, whether if the talent is lacking or not, or the talent isn't so great. But because they have chemistry and cohesiveness, they're going to play well. With that said, they had a tremendous run last night. New York was down by 24 points at home to the Milwaukee Bucks, who was shorthanded. Now, I didn't expect them to win that game last night because we beat them in Milwaukee Friday night after trailing 21 in the first half to come back with an exciting win. And it looks like the second unit was trying to pull that off until they ran out of gas. And I like the idea that Tibbs did not pull them for the first unit, even though maybe some fresh legs could have helped, but they deserved to play. And what I saw there is that three things. Well, you know what? Multiple things. Let me just speak on it. Rose is a tremendous leader. At this point in his career, he may not be a starter again. He may not get starters moments. But the one thing he's going to be better than whoever's guarding him coming off the bench. His talent is still there. He's just wiser with it, and he's a tremendous leader to that second unit. They look at him like if he's the godfather of the crew, and they respond well to him. Quickly is working out in his sophomore slump. Looks like he's coming around. Obi Toppin. I have an issue with Obi. Not with Obi the person, but just how you handling Obi. Obi Toppin is a player. This is a guy that has tremendous talent and skill set. Is he a starter in this league? You know what? Maybe he is. But I'm not going to rush him to be a starter for New York. But I will say this. The best of Obi is with some minutes. This guy's averaging 14 minutes a game, and that's including last night's extended minutes. This guy needs to be up around 18 to 19 minutes a game so that we can see the best of him. When he gets extended minutes, good things happen for him. He's not a bad player, but he needs to get touches, he needs to get rhythm, and that's not going to happen while sitting on the bench. He needs playing time. Burks is solid. Taj Gibson, I don't think there's a better skillful junkyard dog in the league than Taj Gibson. What Taj brings to the table is unmeasurable. They don't always show up in the box score, but he's an extension to Tibbs on the court. He's a leader out there. He's a manager out there, and he gives you everything, and he lays it out there. I mean, I seen him on 2 DNPs, and he still had ice on his knees. So if he has ice on his knees on DNPs, that means this guy is struggling to play every day or when he does play. And when he comes out there, you wouldn't know that he's suffering with anything. The guy's a gamer. He's a winner. I like him. I think every team needs a Taj Gibson on their crew. But with that said, on to the next one. New York needs to regroup, refresh, reload, and get back into the winning ways. I think they have some winnable games coming up, but that first unit, they got to get out there on the perimeter. Every night, it seems like someone is having a career night out there on the perimeter, and that's got to change. And Tibbs, this is a staple of your resume. You're a defensive coach. Whether we got defensive players or not, you have to find a way to defend that. You're a defensive coach. And until we stop letting people just shoot at random on the perimeter, this is what we're going to be faced with each and every night. Each and every night. So let's get it together. Let's regroup. I did want to talk a little bit about the officiating. I'm loving it. I really am. It's taking me back a little bit to some of the 90s and the 80s where some of the hard fouls is out there. But, they're not letting it go back to that. But they're just not calling some of these ticky-tack. There's a lot of complaining going on from today's players. Hey, welcome to the world of the 90s. I've always said that the players of yesteryear will be able to have an easier time to play today because of the officiating. But I always said that today's players will have a tougher time playing in yesteryear because of officiating. These players are not used to getting bumped. They used to having space. They used to having freedom to move and roam without getting an elbow or getting a hip check or whatever the case is, or having a forearm on them. And now that the rules have changed a little bit where the defender has a chance to defend, you're having some of the offensive players complain and saying that it's unfair and they're not having an opportunity to do what they do. Welcome to the 90s. And for those who think that today's players are better than yesterday's players, it's a rude awakening. Today's players, in sports in general, sports today promotes offense. Period. It promotes offense. Whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, it promotes offense. It does not promote defense. Matty Ice is one of the best quarterbacks in his era, statistically wise. You think he would have did the same thing if he was back there in the 80s and the 90s? No. You got Brady talking about he's going to play till he's 75 years old. He won a Super Bowl at 44 years old. You think he would have won that in 80s and the 90s? No, he'd have been retired a long time before that because of those hits that quarterbacks was taking back then. And now they're not taking the hits or allowed to get hit on, nor are they receivers because the league is promoting offense. Same thing in the NBA. They promoted offense. You couldn't come down and hit a logo three in the 80s and 90s unless it was an in the quarter shot, because from inbound to inbound, baseline to baseline, you was getting a forearm on you. From inline to inline, inbound to inbound, baseline to baseline. So today, sports promote offense. So I'm loving the officiating. I believe these players are talented enough to figure it out and to get their games back on track, whether it's a Trae Young or Damian Lillard. Hey, listen, no, it ain't stopping Steph from putting up 50. It's not stopping Kevin Durant from leading the league and scoring at 28. So the officiating, I'm loving it. But I do want to talk about the Golden State Warriors, and that might be a good segue anytime you talk about Steph. These guys are red hot. They're just simply red hot. They're currently 10-1. They've won 6 in a row. In the last 10 games, they're 9-1. And I just love what they're doing. I spoke with some guys, some friends of mine on another show, and I suggested that Steve Kerr would be a Coach of the Year candidate. And I'm liking what I'm seeing, what they've done. There was so much talk about possibly Golden State making a trade to maybe have one more run while Clay and Green and Curry are in their prime still, and it was talk about maybe trading some of the youngsters or their draft picks at the time to bring in a veteran person. I don't know what veteran person takes them over the top. especially if you have to give up Wiseman, right? Now, I don't mind trading Andrew Wiggins. I think that you trade Andrew Wiggins, you can get something, but it's not going to be just Andrew Wiggins. But truthfully, I'm glad they didn't trade anybody. I think that Golden State is one of the few teams in the league, if not the only team in the league, that is set up to win this year and future years to come. Yes, I'm going to repeat that. I think Golden State is the only team in the league that is set up to win this year and future years to come. As long as Clay, Curry, and Green stays on for at least another 3 to 4 years, helping, coaching, and grooming some of these young guys. And as you can see, the maturation is happening. Andrew Wiggins' numbers are down in Golden State, but he's never played better. He's never played smarter. He's never played wiser. And he may have never played harder. He's been a solid player for them. The only thing is that you're asking him to replace a guy that should have been on the top 75 in Klay Thompson, and he's just not Klay Thompson. But when Klay comes back, to have him as a third or fourth option, he's going to excel. And his 15 to 17 points a game and solid defense on the perimeter and occasionally give you a ooh-wow on some athleticism, it's going to be a nice blend to go with the skill set of Klay and Curry. And with Draymond Green being an alternate facilitator, that allows him to even do more or flourish because he has the ball less out of he has the ball less turnovers, and he could become a natural wing. And then the maturation of Jordan Poole is just phenomenal. This guy here, unfortunately, when Klay does return, will go to the bench. But when he goes to the bench, all that's going to do is strengthen the bench. And he's young. You still got Moody, Kumingas, Wiseman when he comes back. Damian Lee looks like he's been hanging out with Curry in the offseason because his game is flourishing. So, this team, to me, it's been solidly built, and it is built for today. I personally believe that Golden State can go to the finals and be a threat to win it all this season. And possibly seasons to come as those youngsters start to grow and as the veterans start to age out a little bit, but offering them something on their way out. Who better to learn from than Dre, Curry, and Klay? And oh, by the way, one of the sneakiest moves of the offseason, got to go to Golden State for the acquisition of Kenny Atkinson. Yeah, Kenny Atkinson, the one that helped groom Brooklyn and made Brooklyn a relevant team before he was forced to resign. Or let me put it this way, he thought it was best he resigned. Not sure what happened there, but I know one thing. This is a guy that had Brooklyn on the map before KD and Kyrie signed there. He's probably the reason why they chose to sign there, because he put Brooklyn on the map with his player development. Now he's on the bench over there with Golden State, and you can see it in Jordan Poole. And he's going to make his mark on these young players if Golden State can retain his services, because at some point he's going to be offered a coaching job again. Kenny Atkinson, to me, when it comes down to player development, is one heck of a guy. He was there at the helm, not at the helm, but he was there on the sideline when we had Lynn Saturday in New York. He may have been responsible for that. So good acquisition for Golden State. Golden State, no doubt in my mind, Western Conference Finals, they're going there. They'll probably meet up, and this is a nice little segue, probably meet up with the Lakers, despite what we think of the Lakers, despite what your opinion is of the Lakers. If they face a team that does not have a wing perimeter defender to make the game difficult or just simply to challenge LeBron on the wing, they have no chance of being beaten. They have no chance of being beaten. If you look at any time LeBron has won a championship, or let me put it this way, anytime he lost a championship, it's because they had a wing defender that made it difficult for him. And even in the Dallas series, when they lost to Dirk and the Senators, his name, I can't think of his name, but he's not an all-time player, but he did play hard on the wing and made it tough. It made it a little bit tough for him. But with that said, when they lost to San Antonio, Kawhi Leonard, when he lost to Golden State, they threw Iguodala at him. Iguodala won MVP because of it in the finals. They were able to throw Clay at him. They was able to throw Draymond at him, just giving them different looks. If you don't have a wing defender to challenge LeBron, and listen, you're not going to stop him, but just make the game difficult for him a little bit, you got no chance of beating the Lakers. And there's no wing defenders in the West other than the Clippers and Golden State. And right now, I can't count on the Clippers. I don't know what the health status of Kawhi Leonard is going to be. The Clippers did finally make their first Western Conference Finals appearance last year. That's a step in the right direction, but I can't count on them. But Golden State has wing defenders. They do. And I believe between Iguodala, Klay Thompson, Wiggins, and even Otto Porter Jr., they might be the team that can challenge a LeBron-led team, Laker team. So I look for them two to be in the finals. And like I said, the Lakers are the Lakers. They're star-studded. They got Hall of Famers up and down the lineup. You can sit LeBron down, and it's still a good team. Really. And to be honest with you, I might be in the minority when I say this. They might be a better team when LeBron or Russ sits. Because I don't think Russ and LeBron can actually play together at periods of time because they're similar players. They're walking triple doubles. They're players that needs the ball in their hands at all time to be able to get the best of them. When you acquire Westbrook, this is a truck that requires diesel fuel, and now you're telling them to put a regular 87 in that truck? You ain't going to get the best of that truck. If you do that, you could not possibly acquire Westbrook and thought that Westbrook was going to be anything less than Westbrook. Westbrook only knows how to play one way. He only knows how to play one way. And that's the best of Westbrook, allowing him to play the way that he plays. And with that said, it's no surprising that they're winning and having some success with LeBron out. And not that they're a better team without LeBron. It's just that there may be better chemistry because Westbrook don't have to share ball handling duties or have to go stand in the corner and wait for a pass to come back to him. And oh, by the way, my guy Melo has been a godsend to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a guy that has won 3 or 4 games for the Lakers just simply with his production off the bench. He's had games where he's led the team in scoring. He's averaging 17.2 a game right now. He may be second or third in the six-man conversation, but he's in the six-man conversation. Yes, he is. He's in the six-man conversation. There's a couple of players in that six-man conversation. Right now I have Tyler Hero at 1. I have Carmelo at 2. I have Montrezl Harrell at 3. I got Rose at 4. Clarkson, Oubre coming along at 5. But yeah, that's what I have right now for that 6-man, and all of them are contributing to winning. and all of them are having solid seasons coming off the bench. And like I said, Melo might be the one that has won more games coming off the bench for his prospective team. But yeah, Melo has been a godsend. This is a guy that was nearly Colin Kaepernick in the NBA. He comes back, takes less money. He was able to showcase himself a little bit in Portland to the point where he had opportunities to go somewhere else. He decided to re-up in Portland because they gave him a chance. Got to respect them for that. I mean, that's just being a quality person. He got his game back. He got his game on track. Didn't look like he lost much. Season ended. He had offers. I was hoping he came to New York. He wound up going to LA. I'm not a LeBron fan. I don't want LeBron to win. But I have to acknowledge that Melo is doing a great job. And what we're seeing of Carmelo in LA is almost like the second coming, and maybe more so, but the second coming of Bob McAdoo when he joined the Showtime Lakers. Because Carmelo is giving you that off the bench. He's giving you buckets. He's giving you buckets off the bench. Off the bench. You know, I mentioned Montrezl Harrell, and that's a good segue to go to Washington. At this point here, Washington is 8-3, first place in the East. They have to be the surprise of the East right now. There's another team that is surprising, but for the other reason. But they have to be the surprise of the East right now. When you talk about that trade, Westbrook to the Lakers for Caldwell Pope, Kuzma, and Harrell, I think each team got what either they wanted or needed. LA got what they wanted. They wanted a star point guard, and they got it. Whether it works, mixes, blend, whatever, they got what they wanted, a star point guard. Washington got what they needed. They were able to get a point guard in the offseason to replace Westbrook with Spencer Dinwiddie, and that was kind of risky coming off of his injury. But prior to his injury, Spencer Dinwiddie was on his way to becoming a star. In fact, I believe he made it to the All-Star game. Okay, but getting the Lakers three, that trio, that was huge. That was huge. Harrell, who was a perennial six-man award winner, always in the race, is now allowed to come here and have the freedom that he had when he was a Clipper that he did not have as a Laker. And it's starting to show. He comes off the bench and he's averaging 18 points a game. 18 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks. That's coming off the bench. Of course, this team is led by Bradley Beal at 23 a game. But also, Kuzma, who I thought would be a most improved player candidate, he's coming off the bench averaging 14 and 9. They have a nice blend, and they do have some young talent over there that I think Washington is going to be sticking around. I really do. I think Washington sticks around. This is a team that came on late last year with Westbrook. They did experience a lot of COVID early on in the beginning of the season last year. They experienced some injuries, and that's going to be part of the season, injuries, and also COVID is going to be part of it as well. But they finished strong last year. I'm not really surprised that they're in the top 8. I'm just surprised that they're number 1. And this Washington Wizards team, they're gonna stick around. Bar no major injuries, just your normal injuries that occur. The team is kind of deep back, and he's having a decent year. I mean, 15 15 and a half a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, that sounds like a comeback player of the year kind of candidate. So I look for Washington to really, really stick around and be a thorn. This is a team that could host a first round matchup. I didn't see it coming. I thought they would be somewhere around the 7th, 8th, 6th spot maybe. But this is a team that's playing well, and they got some chemistry going. And you know, Bradley Beal, you gotta applaud this guy. He's in that same boat as Giannis, and that same boat as Dame Lillard, where they just want to stay where they are. They make no bones about it. They don't ask to be traded. They don't care who's in uniform. They're happy where they are. And when you have that kind of leader, it works, right? It works in Washington. Currently, it's working because this guy, he's saying, hey, I'm here. Let's do this together. Let's do this together. And it's working. It really is. It's working. So I like what I see in Washington. Very, very, very surprised to see him at the top. I do think they stick around. You know, the other team that I thought was pretty surprising is the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks right now is 4-8. 4-8. I think they're a much better team than what we're seeing. I thought Nate McMillan would be a Coach of the Year candidate. Yeah, I really did. I thought he would be a Coach of the Year candidate. And right now, I don't know what's going on. I don't know of any major injuries. If Trae Young is complaining about the officiating, he needs to knock it off and just start playing ball. This is a team that not only did the organization have high expectations for, but I think the average NBA fan was expecting them to do something, to come out with a little bit more grit. So I'm a little surprised what's going on right here. Atlanta needs to get it together because right now I think they're 12th in the division, and you know, you got some teams that I think is going to stick around. And I thought Atlanta would be a top 3 seed in this league. Now, with that said, 4-8, they can go win 6 of the next 7, be above 500, come back, win 5 or 6, and next thing you know, they're looking like the team that many of us thought they would be. But they need to get it together. They had a slow start last season, I should say. As a result of that, Lloyd Pierce was fired. Nate McMillan came on, and they were one of the better second half teams. I don't see them letting go Nate McMillan anytime soon. This is just something that they're going to have to work out. But I believe many people, such as myself, even though I'm a Knicks fan, and I despise Trae Young for the bow he did during the playoffs. But you know what? Hey, got to give credit where credit is due. Atlanta Hawks was the better team at the time. They spanked us. He had one of his he had a coming out party, and he took advantage of the moment. I mean, who wouldn't do it? I mean, this is New York. When the Knicks are in the playoffs, you're not going to find a more enthused crowd than MSG. So I respect him for it. He ain't do nothing that nobody else has done before. I believe Reggie Miller is taking a bow. I believe Steph Curry is taking a bow. It's one of those things. It's the Garden. But with that said, Atlanta Hawks, I'm looking for them to have a bounce back. And they're going to need to do something soon because, like I said, the more games you win in the beginning, the less you're going to need at the end. But it's just the opposite. The less you're going to need at the end. And this year has more parity. An easy win anywhere. I mean, yeah, there's games that you say, well, we got this, but You look up, 3 minutes left, and it's a 5-point game. And that could be against a young Orlando Magic team or a young Detroit team, or surprising Toronto team, who I don't expect to be in the top 10, but currently they've got some signature wins. And then last, before I close, Chicago. Right now they have the only team that has two 26-point scorers on their team, and that's DeRozan and Levine. Man, on any given night, one of them can take off. You're getting solid play by Vukovic. The only thing that's hurting Chicago is they probably need a little bench. There's word on the curb that they may be looking to trade Kobe White. I'm not sure if that's the answer or not, but that's the word. They're looking to trade Kobe White. So I think they need something stronger, bigger, to back up Vukovic or to help Vukovic now that Patrick Williams has been hurt. I doubt if you do a Kobe White for Marvin Bagley, and maybe you could take a chance on a Marvin Bagley, but they do need a PF over there or a skilled big man, I should say. If a Kevin Love was to get bought out, I doubt if he goes there, he probably look to go to Brooklyn or LA, maybe even Golden State. But they could use someone at the PF spot. It's funny, they let Marketing go, but that wasn't working out for them. But they definitely need a PF over there. Getting Derrick Jones, I don't know if that was the answer. He does bring athleticism, but if you were trading Marketing and a sign and trade to Cleveland and Larry Nance Jr. was in that package, you should have got Larry Nance Jr. coming back. I think Larry Nance Jr. would have served you better than Derrick Jones Jr. That's just my thought. Larry Nance Jr. is a guy that plays hard. He's above the rim. You don't have to call his number, but every now and then he affects a game and just in hustle and intangibles. And I would have took Larry Nance Jr. back instead of Derrick Jones Jr. With that said. But with that said, hey, it was been a pleasure to chop it up with you all. Hopefully I get a chance to do it once again in the near future. And peace and blessings. Y'all be good.